Alright, here we are, part 4 at long last, the Skyrim helmet creation. Sorry it's been so long since I did part 3. I just haven't had a lot of motivation to work on it too much. But I did go ahead and finish out all of the paper mache part, as you can see. Kind of cheated a little bit on this left horn, just put some masking tape around it. And then after I did that, I came up with a technique to just use some paper towels soaked in the liquidy goop that, you know, the paper mache stuff was in. So I just dipped that in there and wrapped it around there like a, you know, like a bandage sort of, and then it dried. It's not quite as hard, not nearly as hard as the rest of it, but it'll work for now. That being done, now, forgive me if this doesn't work because I haven't actually tried this in practice, only in theory. Big jar of plaster. It says it's pottery plaster, which I assume it's roughly the same thing as plaster of Paris. The directions are about the same as far as just adding water and letting it sit for 30 minutes. I'm going to try something different. I'm going to try to just brush it on to the helmet, so hopefully that'll work. Now, the thing about plaster, when it dries, it's dry. You're not going to, unless you crumble it up with a hammer or something, it's not going to ever, you know, become powder form again, even if you add a lot of water. So, that being said, once you do your project and you have a little bit left over in your cup or whatever, do not pour it down your sink or flush it down your toilet or anything like that, because no matter where it's at in the pipeline, it's going to harden up and it's going to ruin your whole, you know, sewer system, everything. So, it's a good idea to use a disposable cup. I'm going to use the same cup I was using for the paper mache. So once we get done, I can just let it dry and just throw it in the trash. Because you don't, like I said, you don't want to pour liquid plaster anywhere because it's going to harden up. Even if it's in a bathtub of water, it's going to harden up because it's a chemical reaction. It's not a drying reaction. So anyways, keep that in mind. Okay, so I've got some water in my cup here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix the plaster with it. And then I'm just going to use this cheap brush set that I got. I got a dozen brushes for $7 was a listed price, but I think it was on sale for like 30% off. So here we go. Now this is just a powder form, and it would be handy if I had a spoon that I could use, but I don't want to ruin any of my good spoons, and I don't have any disposable ones at this time. So I'll tell you what, let's do a makeshift scoop with the lid of this cup here, and just kind of just scoop some out, or you can try to pour some out if you want. I'll just start pouring that in there. Might be a good idea to wear rubber gloves when you're doing this, but hey, I've got 2 hands in case I lose one of them. Okay, yeah, it's a little bit thicker. Okay, now I've been working on this for probably a good 25 minutes or so, and the plaster is starting to sit up here in the containers. You can see it's getting really thick. So that's both good and bad. Good because, or let me say bad because, well, we're running out of time, so if you haven't, you know, gotten your model or your helmet pretty well covered, you better hurry up, because it's going to harden up and you're not going to have, you know, time to finish it out. But the good part is since it's hardening up, that gives us the ability to do a little bit more with it. So we can start, you know, adding a little bit of detail and stuff. Like, say I want to add a ring, well, add a ring around the horns. You can kind of just start trying to brush one of those on. Like so. Might be a little, that's starting to set up really fast now, it feels like. Set up, sit up, set up. So just kind of a separation there, just to indicate that those were attached after the helmet itself was made. Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do much more with this because it's really getting thick now. But if you can work fast enough, you might be able to kind of play with it a little bit. Pretty well done with that plaster, so we'll let this dry all the way, let it sit up, let it cure. It shouldn't really take that long, honestly, because it's pretty firm already. But we'll let that cure, and then I'll see if I can dig up some sandpaper. I might have some in the garage, but we might add a few more details with the leftover paper mache, maybe, like I said, a ring around the horns, and maybe trying to give it maybe a subtle ram's horn spiral shape around there, and then maybe another coat of the plaster just to give it a nice smooth feel. So anyways, that's going to be it for part 4. Hope you're still paying attention, because I almost am not. But anyways, we're getting there. We're a lot further along than we were when we started with the sheets of paper. So it's going to be all for part 4. Catch you in part 5.